the sound of a monitor flatlines. A long, continuous beep that means the end of something. The end of me. My vision blurs and swims as faces hover over me. Doctors, nurses, my crying mother. But I can't find him. Where is Lucas? Where is my husband? Maybe that's for the best. He's probably with her already, with Jessica. We're losing her, someone shouts. I want to tell them it's already too late. I was lost months ago when Lucas told me he was leaving, when he said they were naming their baby Celeste. My baby name, the name I'd cradled in my heart since I was 12 years old, whispering it to myself like a prayer. Celeste, the name that was supposed to belong to the daughter Lucas and I would have. The daughter we'd planned for years before he met Jessica at work. The lights overhead grow brighter until they're blinding. The beeping of the monitor fades and I feel myself slipping away. A strange sensation washes over me, like I'm being pulled backwards through water. I close my eyes. Time of death, 3:42 p.m., a voice announces, sounding miles away. And then nothing. I open my eyes with a gasp, sitting bolt upright. My hands immediately go to my stomach, flat, no blood. I look around in confusion. This isn't the hospital. This is my college dorm room? The familiar posters on the wall, the stack of textbooks on the desk, the narrow bed with its blue comforter, but that's impossible. I graduated college 11 years ago. My roommate Zoe looks up from her laptop. Whoa, bad dream? I stare at her in shock. Zoe. Young Zoe with her dark curly hair and nose ring, not the sophisticated lawyer she'd become, with a husband and 2 kids in the suburbs. What year is it? I ask, my voice trembling. Zoe laughs. Girl, how much did you drink last night? It's 2014. October 14th, to be exact. 2014, the year I met Lucas. I jump out of bed and rush to the small mirror hanging on the back of our door. The face that stares back at me is mine, but younger, softer. No fine lines around the eyes. No premature streaks of gray in my dark hair. I'm 21 again. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. I pick it up, an old iPhone model I haven't seen in years. A text message glows on the screen. Coffee at the grind at 4? Unknown number. A strange feeling washes over me. I know who this is, even though the number isn't saved in my contacts yet. It's Lucas. This is the day we meet. Somehow, I've been given a second chance. Hey, are you okay? Zoe asks, peering at me with concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. I have, I whisper. My own. I sink back onto my bed, mind racing. I died. I remember dying. The hospital room, the pain, the moment my heart gave out after complications from surgery. And now, I'm back. 11 years in the past, on the exact day my old life began its slow march toward destruction. The day I meet Lucas, the man who would become my husband, and then leave me for Jessica, taking my dream baby name with him. If this is real, if I've somehow been given a second chance, I can change everything. I can avoid the heartbreak, the betrayal. But as I sit here, another thought forms. A deliciously petty thought that makes a smile slowly spread across my face. I could do more than just avoid the heartbreak. I could get revenge. Zoe, I say, suddenly energized, what do you know about trademarks? I decide to meet Lucas. Call it curiosity or masochism, but I want to see him before he becomes the man who breaks my heart. I want to see if I can spot any warning signs that I missed the first time around. The grind is exactly as I remember it. Brick walls, mismatched furniture, the rich smell of coffee and cinnamon. I spot him immediately at a corner table, younger and somehow more vibrant than the man who left me. His dark hair falls across his forehead in that way I used to find endearing. No gray at the temples yet, no lines around his eyes. Olivia? He asks as I approach, rising slightly from his seat with a smile. Lucas, I reply, trying to keep my voice steady. It's surreal hearing my own voice without the weight of heartbreak it carried in my final years. How did you know? He asks, looking pleased. I don't think I mentioned my name when we talked online. I pause. He's right. On the dating app where we first connected, he went by a username. Lucky guess, I say with a shrug. You look like a Lucas. He laughs and the sound makes my chest tighten. I'd forgotten the way his eyes crinkle at the corners when he smiles genuinely. In the years before he left, those genuine smiles had become rare. Can I get you something to drink? He asks. Hazelnut latte, extra shot, no whip. I reply automatically. He raises an eyebrow. Are you psychic? That's exactly what I was going to order for myself. I bite my lip. I need to be more careful. Great minds, I guess. As he walks to the counter, I take a deep breath. My mind is clearer now, and a plan is forming. In my first life, I fell hard and fast for Lucas. We moved in together after just 6 months. We got married at 2 years. We started trying for a baby at 4. And all the while, I never suspected that he would eventually leave me for Jessica, his coworker, who seemed harmless until she wasn't. This time will be different. I'm going to date him again, but with my eyes wide open. I'll watch for the signs. And while I do, I'm going to protect the one thing he and Jessica stole from me after everything else, my perfect baby name. Lucas returns with our drinks and settles across from me. So, Olivia Taylor, tell me about yourself. I take a sip of my latte, buying time. How much do I reveal? How much do I change? I'm in my final year studying marketing, I say, sticking to the facts. I work part-time at the campus bookstore. I like old movies and new music. And I've known since I was 12 years old what I'm going to name my daughter someday. The words slip out before I can stop them. Lucas looks intrigued. Oh yeah? What name? I hesitate. In my first life, I told him immediately. I shared everything with Lucas, holding nothing back. That openness was what made his betrayal cut so deep. That's personal, I say finally. Something I don't share easily. He leans forward, clearly more interested now that I've made it a mystery. Come on, I promise I won't steal it. The irony makes me want to laugh, but I swallow it down. Maybe someday, I reply, changing the subject. Tell me about you instead. As Lucas talks about his business degree, his family back in Connecticut, his dog named Toast, I study him. He's exactly as I remember, and yet completely different. Because now I see him through the lens of what he becomes. The man who leaves me for someone else. Who takes my cherished baby name and gives it to another woman's child. You're staring, he says, smiling uncertainly. Do I have something on my face? No, I say softly. I'm just trying to figure you out. And whether I can trust myself around you, I add silently. 3 weeks later, Lucas and I are officially dating. Despite my reservations, the chemistry between us is as powerful as it was the first time. Some nights when he holds me and whispers sweet things in my ear, I almost forget what I know about our future. Almost. But then I'll catch him checking his phone a little too often, or mentioning work with a strange eagerness. And I'll remember Jessica. In my first life, she doesn't enter the picture for another 3 years when Lucas lands a job at her marketing firm. But the seed of whatever drew him to her must already exist inside him. Meanwhile, I've been busy with my own plans. With the help of a very confused Zoe, who's taking pre-law courses, I've researched what it would take to trademark a personal name. I still don't understand why this is so important to you, Zoe says one night, surrounded by printouts about intellectual property law in our dorm room. You're not even pregnant. You and Lucas have only been dating for a few weeks. It's complicated, I reply, unable to explain that I'm living my life for the second time, that I know what happens. Just humor me. Can it be done? Zoe sighs. Technically, yes, but it's not simple. You can't just trademark a name for a hypothetical baby. You need to use it in commerce. What does that mean exactly? It means you need to be selling something under that name or providing a service, like if Celeste was the name of your business, or a product line. I consider this. What about a blog or a website? Zoe nods slowly. That could work. If you were offering advice or content under that name, and especially if you were making money from it somehow. A plan begins to take shape in my mind. I could start a blog about baby names, call it Celeste's Name Consultancy or something, offer personalized advice on choosing baby names. That's actually not a bad idea, Zoe admits. But Liv, this seems like a lot of work just to protect a baby name. Are you sure everything's okay? I think about the hospital room, the flatline, Lucas and Jessica naming their daughter Celeste while I died alone. No, I say honestly. Everything's not okay, but it will be. 6 months pass in a blur. Lucas and I settle into a comfortable routine, just like before. We go on dates, meet each other's friends, spend lazy Sundays watching movies in my dorm room. When he whispers, "I love you," for the first time, I say it back, ignoring the voice in my head that screams not to trust him. But alongside our relationship, I've been building something else. Celeste's name consultancy has grown from a simple blog into a legitimate side business. I offer personalized consultations for expectant parents struggling to choose the perfect name. I research etymology, popularity trends, cultural considerations. I've even started making a small income from it, enough to hire a lawyer to help me file for a trademark. Congratulations, my lawyer says when the paperwork finally comes through. You are now the proud owner of the Celeste trademark in the category of baby naming services. Anyone using this name commercially in this context would be infringing on your rights. It's not perfect protection. I can't stop people from naming their babies Celeste entirely. But it's a start. It gives me some legal standing. And more importantly, it gives me a petty sense of satisfaction. What are you smiling about? Lucas asks, coming up behind me as I sit at my desk. He wraps his arms around my shoulders and kisses the top of my head. I quickly close the email from my lawyer. Just happy about how well the blog is doing, I say, which isn't a complete lie. You're amazing, he says warmly. Who knew baby names could be such a successful business? Though you still haven't told me what you plan to name our kids someday. Our kids. The casual way he says it makes my stomach clench. In my first life, we had been trying for a baby for nearly a year when he met Jessica. Nothing had happened yet, but the doctors said it was just a matter of time. Then Jessica got pregnant after knowing Lucas for only 2 months, and everything fell apart. It's a professional secret now, I tell him with a forced smile. Client confidentiality and all that. He laughs, but I can see a flicker of hurt in his eyes. Even from me? Even from you, I confirm, turning back to my computer. Some things I keep just for myself. A year into our relationship, Lucas gets offered a job at Hammond Marketing, the same firm where he meets Jessica. I feel a cold prickle of dread when he tells me the news. That's great, I say, trying to sound enthusiastic. When do you start? 2 weeks, he replies, spinning me around in the small apartment we now share. In my first life, moving in together had been a natural progression. This time, I hesitated when he asked, but eventually gave in. It's harder than I expected to resist falling into the same patterns. They've got an amazing team, he continues excitedly. The creative director is supposed to be brilliant. Jessica something, Harris, I think. My blood turns to ice. Jessica Harris, the woman who steals my husband and my baby name. You'll be working directly with her? I ask, keeping my voice casual with effort. Lucas shrugs. Probably sometimes. She heads up the department I'll be in. Why? I force a smile. Just curious about your new colleagues. That night, I lie awake long after Lucas has fallen asleep, staring at the ceiling. Jessica exists in this timeline too. Of course she does. And now Lucas will meet her, just like before. I have choices to make. I could try to prevent them from getting close. I could come up with reasons for Lucas to quit the job. I could even break up with him now, saving myself the inevitable heartbreak. But something inside me resists. Maybe it's a stubborn desire to see if things could be different this time. Maybe it's because, despite everything, I still love him. Or maybe it's because I want to see Jessica's face when she realizes she can't have my baby name. I turn on my side, watching Lucas sleep. His face is peaceful, innocent. Does he have any idea what he'll become capable of? The pain he'll cause? I think about my business, about the trademark. At first, it was just a petty act of revenge against a future that might not even happen in this timeline. But now, with Jessica about to enter our lives again, it feels like armor, protection against what might come. I make a decision. I won't try to stop Lucas from working with Jessica. I won't interfere. I'll let things play out, see if history repeats itself or if something changes. But this time, I'll be prepared. This time, I have a weapon. 2 years pass. Lucas and I get engaged, just like in my first life. The proposal is different, a romantic dinner at home rather than the elaborate restaurant setup from before, but my answer is the same. Yes. Despite everything I know, despite the shadow of Jessica that hangs over our relationship, I say yes. I tell myself it's because I want to see if things can be different, if knowing the future gives me the power to change it. But deep down, I wonder if I'm just following the path of least resistance, unable to break away from the gravity of my first life. Lucas talks about Jessica sometimes, his brilliant boss with her innovative campaigns and sharp wit. I listen with a forced smile, searching his tone for signs of attraction, his eyes for that telltale spark. Sometimes I think I see it, other times I wonder if I'm paranoid, finding evidence that isn't there. My name consultancy has grown into a full-fledged business. I've expanded beyond the blog to speaking engagements, a popular Instagram account, and even a small book deal for the Celeste Guide to Meaningful Names. The trademark is ironclad now, my ownership of Celeste in the naming consultancy space unquestionable. I still think it's weird that you won't tell me, Lucas says one night as we lie in bed. The name you want for our daughter, especially now that we're getting married. I turn to face him, studying his features in the dim light. Does it bother you that much? He sighs. Not bother exactly. It just feels like you're keeping a part of yourself from me. Something important. Guilt stabs at me. I am keeping parts of myself from him, not just the name, but the knowledge of our future, the reality of my past life. Sometimes I wonder if that's why things might turn out the same. If my secrecy is creating the very distance that drove him away the first time. I'll tell you someday, I promise, knowing it's empty, when the time is right. Our wedding is small, smaller than it was in my first life, where I'd wanted the fairy tale and Lucas had indulged me. This time, I suggest an intimate ceremony with just close family and friends. Jessica attends as Lucas's boss and, increasingly, his friend. She's exactly as I remember her. Tall, blonde, with a confident smile and a laugh that fills the room. Seeing her in person for the first time in this life makes my skin crawl. She hugs me warmly, complimenting my dress, while I fight the urge to recoil. Lucas talks about you all the time, she says with a smile that seems genuine. I feel like I know you already. Funny, I reply coldly. He mentions you quite a bit too. Her smile falters slightly, confusion flickering across her face. Lucas, appearing at my side, gives me a questioning look. I hadn't meant to be so transparent with my dislike, but seeing her, knowing what she's capable of, makes it hard to maintain the facade. Champagne? I suggest brightly, changing tactics. I think the servers are coming around with a new bottle. As the reception continues, I watch Jessica interact with Lucas. There's nothing inappropriate, nothing that crosses a line. They laugh at inside jokes from work, but he always looks to include me. His hand finds mine frequently, a reassuring squeeze that says, I'm here with you. Maybe it will be different this time. Maybe knowing the possible future gives me the power to prevent it. Or maybe I'm being naive all over again. A year into our marriage, Lucas brings up the topic I've been dreading. I think we should start trying, he says one Sunday morning, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder as we linger in bed. For a baby. My heart races. This is it, the beginning of the end, if history repeats itself. In my first life, it was our struggle to conceive that created the first cracks in our marriage. The disappointment each month, the increasing medical interventions, the strain it put on our relationship. And then Jessica, pregnant so easily with Lucas's child while I remained barren. Are you sure we're ready? I ask, stalling. The business is doing so well and you just got that promotion. We'll never be completely ready, he says with a gentle laugh, but I think we're as ready as anyone ever is. I want to start our family, Liv, don't you? I look into his earnest eyes and feel a painful tug in my chest. This Lucas hasn't betrayed me. This Lucas loves me, wants a child with me. And despite everything, I want that too. The family we were supposed to have before Jessica stole it all away. Okay, I whisper, making a decision. Let's try. 6 months pass with no pregnancy. Then a year, the familiar pattern of hope and disappointment that haunted my first life repeats itself. Tests are run. There's nothing technically wrong, the doctors say. Sometimes these things just take time. Lucas is supportive, understanding, but I notice the strain beginning to show. The slightly forced optimism when another month passes without success. The way he stays later at work, citing projects with tight deadlines. Projects that inevitably involve Jessica. One night, he comes home smelling of wine and perfume that isn't mine. Office party, he explains when I ask. Client signed a huge deal. Everyone went out to celebrate. Was Jessica there? I ask, unable to stop myself. Lucas frowns. Yes, of course. She's the creative director. Why do you ask like that? Like what? Like her name is an accusation. I turn away, pretending to busy myself with dishes in the sink. I didn't mean anything by it. Olivia, his voice is firmer now. What's going on? You've been weird about Jessica since the day I mentioned her. Do you think something's happening between us? Is it? I ask, turning to face him, hating the tremor in my voice. The shock on his face seems genuine. Of course not. She's my boss, Liv, and my friend, that's all. He approaches me, taking my hands in his. I love you. We're trying to start a family together. How could you think I'd betray that? I want desperately to believe him, and maybe he even believes himself. But I remember how it started last time. Innocent friendship, late nights at work, a shoulder to cry on when the fertility struggles became too much. I'm sorry, I say, squeezing his hands. It's just, all this trying and failing, it's making me crazy. Lucas pulls me into a hug. I know, it's hard on me too. But we'll get through it together, I promise. As I rest my head against his chest, I wonder if this is a promise he'll keep this time. The call comes on a Tuesday afternoon. Lucas has been in an accident. The voice on the other end belongs to Jessica. My stomach drops as memories of my first life flash through my mind. The hospital, the flatline, dying alone while Lucas was with her. What happened? Where is he? I demand, already grabbing my keys. Car accident on the highway. He's at Mercy General. I'm here with him now. Of course she is. How bad is it? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. He's in surgery. They said... Her voice breaks. They said it's serious. You should come quickly. I drive to the hospital in a fog, my mind racing. This didn't happen in my first life. Lucas never had an accident. Is this the universe's way of balancing the scales? Did my meddling with the timeline somehow cause this? When I arrive, Jessica is pacing the waiting room. Her mascara is smeared, her usually perfect hair disheveled. She looks up when I enter, and for a moment, I see genuine relief on her face. Olivia, thank God. They won't tell me anything because I'm not family. What happened? I ask, ignoring her outstretched hand. She drops her arm awkwardly. He was driving back from the client meeting in Hartford. A truck swerved into his lane. They said he rolled several times. I sink into a chair, trying to process this information. Lucas could die. The thought hits me with surprising force. Despite everything I know, despite the betrayal from my first life, the idea of losing him permanently is unbearable. Why were you with him? I ask, looking up at Jessica. She blinks, taken aback by my tone. I wasn't. He was driving alone. I just got the call because I'm listed as his emergency contact at work. And you came right away. She frowns, confusion evident on her face. Of course I did. He's my friend, my colleague. Before I can respond, a doctor approaches. Mrs. Hamilton? I'm Dr. Chen. Your husband is out of surgery. I stand on shaky legs. Is he... He's stable. The injuries were severe. Broken ribs, punctured lung, internal bleeding. But we've managed to stabilize him. The next 24 hours will be critical. Relief floods through me, making my knees weak. Can I see him? He's in recovery now. Once he's moved to ICU, you can visit briefly. Just immediate family for now, he adds with a pointed look at Jessica. She nods, taking a step back. I should get back to the office anyway. Let everyone know he's stable. She turns to me, hesitating. Will you call me when he wakes up? Everyone at work is worried. I nod stiffly, not trusting myself to speak. After she leaves, I wait another agonizing hour before I'm allowed to see Lucas. When I finally enter his room, I'm not prepared for the sight that greets me. He's pale, hooked up to monitors and IVs, his body looking small and broken beneath the hospital sheet. A ventilator helps him breathe, the rhythmic whoosh, a reminder of how precarious his condition is. I sink into the chair beside his bed and take his hand, the one not in a cast. Tears flow freely down my face as I watch his chest rise and fall with mechanical assistance. "You can't leave me," I whisper. "Not like this. Not now." As the hours pass, I reflect on our relationship in this second life. I've been so focused on protecting myself, on guarding against the betrayal I knew might come, that I've held part of myself back from him. I've been suspicious, vigilant, always looking for signs that history was repeating itself. What if that vigilance is what pushes him away? What if my fear of losing him to Jessica becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? 3 days later, Lucas is taken off the ventilator. He's weak but conscious. His voice a raspy whisper when he finally speaks. "You're here," he says, his fingers tightening slightly around mine. "Of course I'm here," I reply, brushing his hair back from his forehead. "I'm your wife." He swallows with effort. "I saw the light, Liv. I was moving toward it, and then I thought about you. About us. I came back." Fresh tears spring to my eyes. "I'm glad you did." "I need to tell you something," he says, his gaze serious. "Something important." My heart seizes. Is this it? Has he been hiding something with Jessica after all? "Jessica's pregnant," he says. The world stops, just like that. I feel like I've been punched in the stomach, all the air leaving my lungs in a rush. "What?" I manage to gasp. Lucas's brow furrows at my reaction. "Jessica and her husband are having a baby. She told me right before the accident. They've been trying for a while, I guess. She was asking my advice about baby names." Relief washes over me so intensely, I nearly collapse. "Jessica's married? For almost a year now. Remember, we went to the wedding? Tom, the architect?" Lucas is looking at me strangely now. "Liv, are you okay? You're acting weird." My mind races, trying to make sense of this new information. In my first life, Jessica was single when she met Lucas. She'd never mentioned a husband named Tom. This is a significant deviation from the timeline I knew. "I'm just surprised," I say, recovering. "She never mentioned they were trying for a baby." Lucas smiles weakly. "She's been private about it. Said they've had a couple of false starts, so they weren't telling many people. But she's 3 months along now." "Did she mention any names they're considering?" I ask, unable to help myself. "Actually, that's what I wanted to tell you. She loves the name Celeste. Said she's always wanted to use it if she had a daughter. Isn't that weird?" My blood runs cold. Even in this altered timeline, Jessica still wants my name. My name. "Very weird," I say tightly. "I told her it was funny because that's your business name, but she seemed really attached to it." Lucas squeezes my hand. "The accident made me realize life is short, Liv. I don't want secrets between us anymore. Why don't you want to tell me the baby name you've been saving all these years? Is it Celeste? Is that why you used it for your business?" I look at my husband, pale and fragile in his hospital bed. He came back from the light for me. And Jessica, this version of Jessica, isn't a threat to our marriage. She has her own husband, her own life. Maybe this timeline really is different. "Yes," I admit finally. "It's Celeste. I've wanted to name my daughter that since I was a little girl. That's why I built the business around it to protect it." Lucas's eyes widen slightly. "Protect it? From what?" "From being taken," I say simply. He looks puzzled but doesn't press. "It's a beautiful name," he says instead. "I love it." I bite my lip. "There's something else you should know. I actually trademarked the name. For my business, but also, well, it's complicated." Now he looks completely confused. "You trademarked a baby name? Can you even do that?" "Not exactly. I trademarked Celeste for use in baby naming consultancy services. It means no one else can use the name commercially in that context." Lucas stares at me for a long moment. Live, I don't even know what to say. Why would you go to such lengths? How do I explain that I've lived this life before? That in another timeline, he left me for Jessica, and they stole my perfect baby name for their daughter? It's important to me, I say simply. More important than you know. He seems to accept this, too weak to argue. Well, maybe you should tell Jessica before she gets too attached to the name. I nod slowly, an idea forming. Yes, I think I will. Lucas recovers slowly. Weeks in the hospital turn into months of physical therapy and rehabilitation. I take leave from work to care for him, putting my consultancy on temporary hiatus. Through it all, we grow closer in a way we never did in my first life. Vulnerability has a way of breaking down walls, and nearly losing him made me realize how much I still love him, despite my fears. Jessica visits occasionally, her pregnancy progressing visibly. She brings food, company for Lucas when I need a break, genuine concern in her eyes. I find myself reluctantly warming to this version of her, so different from the woman who stole my husband in another life. Tom and I would love to have you both over for dinner when Lucas is feeling up to it, she says one afternoon as we share coffee in the hospital cafeteria. Nothing fancy, just to thank you for being so understanding about work during all this. I study her face, searching for signs of the woman I once hated. But this Jessica seems sincere, her hand resting protectively on her growing belly, her wedding ring catching the fluorescent light. That would be nice, I find myself saying, maybe next month when he's stronger. She beams, clearly pleased by my acceptance. Great! And actually, there's something I wanted to ask you. She hesitates, suddenly looking nervous. It's about your company, Celeste's Name Consultancy. My guard immediately rises. What about it? Well, I love the name Celeste, as you know. Tom and I both do. We were hoping to use it for our daughter. We just found out it's a girl. She smiles, radiating happiness. But Lucas mentioned it might be complicated because of your business. I take a deep breath. This is the moment I've been waiting for, the reason I went through the trouble of trademarking the name in the first place. Even though this Jessica isn't the homewrecker from my first life, she's still trying to take my name. It is complicated, I confirm. I've legally trademarked Celeste in the context of baby naming services. While I can't stop you from naming your child that, there could be conflicts. Jessica's smile fades slightly. Conflicts? What kind of conflicts? I choose my words carefully. The trademark gives me certain legal rights. If your daughter's name were to be used in ways that might create confusion with my brand, I would have grounds to take action. I don't understand. We'd just be calling her Celeste. How would that create confusion? Social media posts about her, for instance, especially if they involve discussions of her name. Birthday party invitations, school events. Anything public where the name Celeste is prominently featured could potentially infringe on my trademark. Jessica stares at me in disbelief. You can't be serious. That's not how trademarks work, is it? I've consulted with several lawyers on this, I say smoothly. The trademark is quite comprehensive. She shakes her head slightly, trying to process this information. So, what are you saying, that we can't name our daughter Celeste? You can name her whatever you want, I clarify. But if you choose Celeste, there would need to be an agreement in place. A licensing agreement, to be precise. A licensing agreement, she repeats flatly, for my daughter's name. I nod. I would allow you to use the name in exchange for a fee. Say, $10 every time you use it in a public context. Social media, official documents, introductions at events. It's actually quite reasonable considering. Jessica's expression morphs from confusion to anger. This is insane. You want to charge me for saying my own daughter's name? Not saying it, publishing it. Making it public in context that might create brand confusion. She stands abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. I need to go. I can't believe we're even having this conversation. As she storms away, I feel a twinge of guilt. This Jessica hasn't done anything to deserve my pettiness. She's not the woman who stole my husband. She has her own life, her own marriage. And yet she still wants my name. Some things, it seems, transcend timelines. When I return to Lucas's hospital room, he's watching TV, looking stronger than he has in weeks. Jessica left in a hurry. he comments as I settle into the chair beside his bed. She looked upset. I busy myself with arranging the flowers on his bedside table. We had a difference of opinion. Lucas mutes the television, giving me his full attention. About what? I hesitate, unsure how much to reveal. About the name Celeste. I told her about my trademark and what it might mean for her. His brow furrows. What did you tell her exactly? I explain the licensing fee concept, watching as Lucas's expression shifts from confusion to disbelief. Olivia, he says when I finish, you can't be serious. You want to charge our friend for using her daughter's name? She's not really our friend, I counter. She's your boss, and she's trying to take something that's important to me. Lucas shakes his head slowly. This doesn't sound like you. The Olivia I know is generous, kind, not whatever this is. His words sting because they remind me that he doesn't truly know me. Not all of me. Not the woman who died and came back with 11 years of memories he knows nothing about. You don't understand, I say quietly. That name means everything to me. Then explain it to me, he urges. Help me understand why you're willing to hurt someone over a name. I look at my husband, pale but recovering, his eyes clear and focused on mine with genuine concern. For a moment, I consider telling him everything. The truth about my first life, about his betrayal, about Jessica and their baby named Celeste while I died alone. But the moment passes, he'd think I was crazy. Or worse, he'd believe me and look at me differently forever, always wondering if I was loving him or hating him for something he hadn't actually done yet. It's complicated, I say finally, but I've worked hard to build my brand around that name. I can't just let anyone use it however they want. Lucas studies me for a long moment. This isn't about business, Liv. This is personal, isn't it? You've never liked Jessica right from the start. Why? I stand, suddenly needing space. I should get some coffee. Do you want anything? Olivia, his voice has an edge I rarely hear. Don't walk away from this conversation. I pause at the door, not turning to face him. I'm not walking away. I just need a minute. In the hallway, I lean against the wall, closing my eyes. How did I get here? This was supposed to be my second chance, my opportunity to do things differently. Instead, I'm still obsessed with Jessica, still fixated on protecting a name that, in this timeline, might never have been at risk. What if I'm the problem? What if my actions, driven by memories of a future that might never happen now, are creating the very rifts I'm trying to prevent? I return to Lucas's room with 2 cups of terrible hospital coffee and a decision made. You're right, I tell him, sitting on the edge of his bed. It is personal, and it's not fair to Jessica or to you. Relief softens his features. Thank you for saying that. I'll talk to her, I promise. I'll explain that I got carried away, that the trademark is just protection for my business, not a way to control what she names her child. Lucas takes my hand, squeezing it gently. That's my Liv. But even as I smile at him, a part of me mourns. Celeste was supposed to be our daughter's name, mine and Lucas's. In giving it up, I feel like I'm surrendering a piece of the future I've been fighting for. Jessica is understandably wary when I ask to meet her for coffee a week later. She arrives at the cafe looking defensive, her baby bump more pronounced under a flowing maternity dress. Thank you for coming, I say as she slides into the booth across from me. I know our last conversation didn't end well. She nods stiffly. Lucas said you wanted to talk, so here I am. I take a deep breath, folding my hands on the table. I owe you an apology. What I said about the trademark and licensing fees, it was ridiculous and inappropriate. Surprise flickers across her face. Oh, the truth is, I continue, Celeste is a name I've been saving for my own daughter someday. When you said you wanted to use it, I reacted poorly. Jessica's expression softened slightly. I didn't know it was a name you were planning to use. Lucas never mentioned it. He didn't know, I admit. I've kept it to myself for a long time. Why? It's a simple question, but the answer is anything but simple. How do I explain that in another life, she took everything from me, my husband, my future, and finally, my perfect baby name? It's been special to me since I was young. I say instead. It was my grandmother's middle name, and I always imagined passing it on someday. This is a lie. In both lifetimes, I simply fell in love with the name when I heard it in a movie as a child. But it sounds better than the truth. Jessica nods slowly. I understand that. Names can be deeply personal. She rests her hand on her belly. Tom's grandmother was named Celeste. That's why we were drawn to it too. Another deviation from my first life. There, Jessica had no personal connection to the name. She'd simply taken it because Lucas mentioned it was one I loved. I didn't know that, I say softly. There are a lot of things you don't know about me, Olivia. Her voice is tired rather than accusatory. You've never really given me a chance. Guilt washes over me. She's right. I've been judging this Jessica based on actions committed by a different Jessica in a different timeline. I'd like to change that, I say, surprising myself with how much I mean it. Jessica eyes me skeptically. Why now? Lucas's accident changed my perspective on a lot of things, I say truthfully. Life's too short for unnecessary conflict. She seems to accept this, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. So where does that leave us with the name situation? I take a deep breath. I've done some soul searching. The trademark is real, but it only applies to commercial use in naming consultancy services. It was never meant to be used the way I suggested. I meet her eyes directly. You should name your daughter whatever you and Tom want. No licensing fees, no legal threats. I was way out of line. Relief washes over her face. Thank you, that means a lot. But, I add, I hope you can understand that it might still be difficult for me, hearing the name I've dreamed of using for my own child. Jessica nods slowly. I do understand. And if it's truly that important to you, she hesitates. Tom and I have other names on our list, names that don't belong to someone else's dream. I stare at her, taken aback by the gesture. You'd do that? It doesn't seem worth causing pain over, she says simply, especially when we have alternatives we both love. For a moment, I'm speechless. This Jessica, the one offering to give up a name she loves to spare my feelings, is so different from the woman who haunted my first life. I don't know what to say, I admit. Jessica smiles slightly. You don't have to say anything. Just maybe give me a chance. As a friend, not just as Lucas's boss. I nod, unexpected emotion tightening my throat. I'd like that. As we part ways, I feel lighter than I have in months. Perhaps changing the timeline isn't about controlling every element to prevent a specific outcome. Perhaps it's about approaching things with an open heart instead of a defensive mind. You seem happier, Lucas comments that evening as we eat dinner in our apartment. He's been home from the hospital for a few days now, still moving carefully but improving steadily. I am, I say, realizing it's true. I talked things out with Jessica. We've come to an understanding about the name. Lucas raises an eyebrow. An understanding? She's decided to use a different name for their baby, I explain. She said she didn't want to cause pain by using something that was important to me. Lucas looks surprised. That was generous of her. She's not who I thought she was, I admit quietly. I've been telling you that for years, he says with a gentle smile. Maybe now you'll believe me. I reach across the table to take his hand. I do believe you, and I'm sorry for doubting. Not just about Jessica, I add silently. For doubting you. For carrying the weight of a betrayal that hasn't happened. That might never happen in this timeline. There's something else, I say, making a decision. Something I want to talk to you about. Lucas looks at me curiously. What is it? Celeste, I say. It's time I told you why that name means so much to me. I don't tell him everything. Not about my rebirth. Not about his affair with Jessica in another life. But I do tell him about the dream I've carried since childhood. About a little girl with his eyes and my smile, with stars in her name and boundless possibilities in her future. I've been holding on to this name, this dream, so tightly, I conclude. Too tightly. I think I've been afraid that if I shared it, it might not come true. Lucas squeezes my hand. Dreams don't disappear when you share them, Liv. They grow stronger. I know that now, I whisper. and I'm ready to really try for that dream with you. 3 months later, after nearly 2 years of trying, I miss my period. The pregnancy test confirms what I already suspect. I'm pregnant. When I tell Lucas, he lifts me carefully, mindful of his still healing body, and spins me in a slow circle. A baby, he whispers against my hair. Our baby. I press my face into his neck, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling a happiness so intense it's almost painful. In my first life, we never reached this moment. Our marriage fractured before we could create the family we wanted. Boy or girl, I don't care, Lucas says, his voice thick with emotion. As long as they're healthy. Me neither, I agree, and I mean it. While the name Celeste has been at the center of my obsession for so long, it's the child, our child, that matters most. Jessica gives birth to a daughter 2 weeks later. They name her Lily, after Tom's mother. When she sends a photo, I feel nothing but genuine happiness for her. The jealousy and resentment that defined our relationship in my first life has been replaced by a tentative friendship. As my own pregnancy progresses, I throw myself into preparations. We convert the spare bedroom into a nursery, paint the walls a soft sea green, assemble a crib that takes Lucas and me 3 frustrating hours to put together. What if it's a boy? Lucas asks one night as we lie in bed, his hand resting on my growing belly. Have you thought about names? I have a few ideas, I admit, but nothing feels right yet. And if it's a girl? He asks cautiously. Will it be Celeste? I'm silent for a moment, considering. The name that once meant everything to me, enough to die for, enough to build a business around, enough to threaten legal action over, suddenly seems less crucial. Maybe, I say, or maybe something new. Something that belongs just to this life, this baby. Lucas looks at me curiously. This life as opposed to what? I smile, smoothing my hand over my rounded stomach. Just this moment in our lives. This fresh start. Our daughter is born on a stormy Tuesday morning after 18 hours of labor. When the doctor places her on my chest, red-faced and screaming, I feel a love so overwhelming it eclipses everything. My past life, my rebirth, my fears and obsessions. She's perfect, Lucas whispers, tears streaming down his face as he strokes her tiny head with trembling fingers. And she is. Perfect in a way that has nothing to do with names, or trademarks or petty revenge. Perfect simply because she exists, because she's ours. The nurse asks what we're naming her, pen poised over the birth certificate form. Lucas looks at me, waiting. This is my moment, the culmination of 2 lifetimes of longing. The name I've protected so fiercely is finally mine to bestow. I look down at our daughter, at her unfocused eyes and determined little fists, and realize something that feels like wisdom. Some dreams change shape when they come true. Stella, I say softly. Her name is Stella Grace Hamilton. Lucas looks surprised, but pleased. Not Celeste? I shake my head, smiling through my own tears. Stella means star, just like Celeste. But it's her own name, her own light. As Lucas kisses my forehead, murmuring his approval, I silently let go of the last remnants of my first life. The name Celeste belonged to a future that never happened, to a child who was never born. Stella belongs to this life, this timeline, this reality where Lucas and I found our way to happiness despite, or perhaps because of, my knowledge of what could have been. Jessica and Tom visit us in the hospital the next day, bringing flowers and a tiny stuffed bear for Stella. She's gorgeous, Jessica says, peering down at my daughter with genuine warmth. Absolutely perfect. Thank you, I reply, watching as Lucas proudly shows Tom how to properly support a newborn's head. Jessica sits beside my bed, her own daughter Lily now 6 months old and staying with grandparents for the day. Stella is a beautiful name, she comments. I thought you might use Celeste. I smile, adjusting Stella's blanket. I thought so too for a long time, but when I saw her, she was clearly a Stella. I understand that, Jessica says with a knowing nod. I had 3 names picked out for Lily, but the moment they placed her in my arms, I just knew. We share a smile, the understanding passing between us, not as rivals or enemies, but as mothers. Later, when they've gone and Lucas steps out to find coffee, I hold my daughter close, marveling at her tiny fingernails, the perfect curve of her ear, the way her chest rises and falls with each small breath. You'll never know this, I whisper to her. But in another life, I died before I could meet you, before you could even exist. I came back determined to protect a name, but what I really needed to protect was this moment. You. Stella squirms slightly in her sleep, her lips making small movements as if she's dreaming of milk. Your name doesn't determine your destiny, I continue softly. Your name is just the first gift we give you. The rest is yours to write. I think about my business, the consultancy built around a name I didn't even use. I laugh softly at the irony. I trademarked Celeste to keep it safe from someone who doesn't exist in this timeline. I tell my sleeping daughter. I built walls around a future I was afraid of losing. But you, Stella, you've shown me something better than protection. You've shown me possibility. When Stella is 3 months old, I receive an email from a major parenting company offering to buy my business. Celeste's name consultancy has grown even during my maternity leave, with my small team handling client requests while I focus on my daughter. The offer is substantial, enough to secure Stella's education, to give us freedom and options we didn't have before. What do you think? I ask Lucas, showing him the email as we sit on our patio. Stella sleeping peacefully in her bassinet beside us. He whistles softly at the figure. That's impressive. Are you considering it? I gaze out at our small garden, thinking. The business was never really about helping people find names, I admit. It was about protecting something I thought could be taken from me, but now, I glance at Stella. Now I don't need that protection anymore. Lucas reaches over to take my hand. So what will you do? I smile, a decision forming. I'm going to sell, and then I'm going to start something new, something that's about creation, not protection. 2 weeks later, the sale is complete. I transfer ownership of the Celeste trademark to the new company, feeling a weight lift as I sign the papers. That night, I start sketching plans for a children's book series, stories about a little girl named Stella who explores the stars. Jessica calls me on a sunny afternoon when Stella is nearing her first birthday. I have somewhat awkward news, she says without preamble. I've been offered a position at Campbell and Rhodes. It's a significant step up, but it would mean leaving Hammond. That's wonderful, I say sincerely. Why is that awkward? She hesitates. Well, they want someone to come with me. A senior creative director to build a new team under me. I've recommended Lucas. My heart skips a beat, an echo of old fears surfacing briefly before I push them away. Lucas would be perfect for that. You don't mind? I know how hard it can be, balancing 2 careers with a young child. We'll figure it out, I say, watching Stella play with blocks on the living room floor. Lucas deserves this opportunity. After we hang up, I sit beside my daughter, helping her stack one more block on her wobbly tower. When Lucas comes home that evening, I tell him about Jessica's call. She already mentioned it to me, he admits, but I told her I needed to talk to you first. I smile, love for this man, so different from the Lucas of my first life, washing over me. You should take it. It's an amazing opportunity. He sits beside me on the couch, pulling me close. Are you sure? It would mean longer hours, more responsibility. I'm sure, I say, leaning into his embrace. We're partners, Lucas. Your success is our success. He kisses the top of my head. Have I told you lately how lucky I am to have found you? I close my eyes, thinking of 2 lifetimes, 2 chances, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm the lucky one, I whisper, more than you know. 5 years later. Stella, careful with your sister, I call out as my eldest races around the backyard, a giggling toddler following unsteadily in her wake. We're playing explorers, Mommy, Stella shouts back, her dark hair flying behind her. Celeste is my co-pilot. I smile, watching my daughters play. Celeste Aurora Hamilton, age 2.5, toddles after her big sister with determination, her chubby legs working overtime to keep up. Lucas appears beside me, wrapping an arm around my waist. The burgers are almost ready, he says, pressing a kiss to my temple. Jessica and Tom should be here with Lily any minute. I nod, leaning into his embrace. The table's set. Stella helped with the napkins. I can tell, he laughs, nodding at the haphazardly folded cloth napkins at each place setting. As if on cue, the doorbell rings. Lucas goes to answer it while I call the girls in from the yard. Aunt Jessica! Stella squeals, racing past me to throw herself at our visitor. Jessica laughs, catching my daughter in a hug while balancing a dish in one hand. Hello, little explorer. Have you been on any adventures today? We went to Jupiter, Stella informs her solemnly, but we had to come back for lunch. Very sensible, Jessica agrees, handing the dish to Lucas. Potato salad, as requested. Lily, now 6, immediately joins Stella and Celeste in the yard, the three girls falling into play as if no time has passed since their last visit. They grow so fast, Jessica comments, watching them. It seems like yesterday Lily was Celeste's age. I smile, helping her unpack the rest of the food they've brought. I know. Stella starts kindergarten in the fall. I can't believe it. As we prepare lunch, I reflect on the twists and turns that led us here. Lucas did take the job with Jessica at the new firm, where they've built an award-winning creative department together. Tom's architectural practice has flourished. My children's book series about Stella Starr has found modest success, with the 4th book releasing next month. And Celeste, my second daughter, named freely and without fear, her existence itself a testament to how much this timeline differs from my first life. Penny for your thoughts? Jessica asks, catching me staring contemplatively at our children playing. Just grateful, I say truthfully, for all of this. She follows my gaze to the yard where Lucas is now pretending to be a monster, chasing all 3 squealing girls. We've built good lives, haven't we? Better than I ever imagined possible, I reply. And it's true. In my desperate attempt to protect a name, to prevent a future I feared, I nearly missed creating something far more precious, a life filled with love, friendship, and second chances. As we gather around the table for lunch, Stella insists on saying grace, something she's learned from Lucas's parents. Thank you for Mommy and Daddy and Celeste, she begins, her eyes squeezed shut in concentration. And for Aunt Jessica and Uncle Tom and Lily, and for burgers and sunshine and stars. And for names, I add softly, catching Lucas's questioning glance with a smile. Thank you for perfect names for perfect people. Celeste, too young to understand the significance, bangs her sippy cup on the high chair tray. Names, she echoes happily. My name's Celeste. As everyone laughs, I meet Jessica's eyes across the table. There's no tension, no rivalry, just the warm connection of friendship. To names, Jessica says, raising her glass in a toast, and to the people who make them special. I raise my own glass, thinking of trademarks and billing schemes and petty revenge plots that now seem like distant dreams. To names, I agree, and to second chances to get them right. In another life, I died bitter and alone, mourning a name and a future that was stolen from me. In this life, my real life, I've learned that sometimes the perfect name finds its own perfect person. Sometimes you have to let go of what you thought you wanted to make room for something even better. And sometimes when you're given a second chance, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well.